The perimenopause and menopause journey is different for every woman, but too many are navigating it alone. In this episode, we're breaking the silence, busting the myths, and exploring how a root cause approach to hormones, mental health, and whole person wellness can help you not just survive the season, but thrive in it.
Welcome to Rooted and Rising, a podcast by Into the Woods Wellness. I'm Kaitlyn Keneally, coming to you from our nature-inspired sanctuary in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Grab your tea, get comfortable, and let's dive into real talk that empowers your healing journey. All right, we are back, and it is exciting because there is a bunch of us here. It's not just 2 or 3 of us.
Today we're talking real talk, and this was Ginger's idea. A couple months back, I think, we've been trying to get everybody together to discuss and have some real talk, some girl talk about perimenopause and menopause.
Yes, all that good fun stuff, ladies.
So we were talking before we started recording. I don't think I'm quite there yet. I'm maybe just starting. And I didn't ask, are you guys okay talking age?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I am 41, so I'm not quite experiencing perimenopause symptoms, but I'm sure they are coming. It is inevitable, right?
And I am 49, almost 50, and I actually have not experienced too much other than months of missed periods and things like that.
Sure. And we've got Kelly here.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm mid-range of the pack. I'm a year younger than Ginger, which I like to point out often, but being mid-pack, so I am beginning the perimenopause symptom phase, and I guess we can get more into the symptoms later. We'll jump into Kathy's.
Yeah, so I am 60, so postmenopausal. I'm the old one here.
I'm the baby, per usual. I'll be talking about my gray hairs, but I'm pretty sure it's just come from working here. So everybody in this room has contributed to that, so we will definitely hear more about that.
I would say the gray hair is just part of aging.
Yeah.
And Kathy, I would not think that you're 60.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the whole idea of bringing the group together, like we are right now, is to have some real talk and share the diverse experience of perimenopause and menopause, and also acknowledge that some of this stuff isn't talked about. I think it's being talked about more and more as more podcasts and other individuals are coming forward and sharing their reality of this transition that is very natural. However, Ginger, you have shared that there's a lot that we experience that we assume we just have to deal with, that it just isn't the case.
Right. It may be common, but it's not necessarily normal. So women go through anxiety, sleepless nights, right? Vaginal dryness, irritability, mood shifts, aches and pains. I think that's a really big one for a lot of women. We store a lot of trauma in our hips and our shoulders, even our feet. So seeing a lot of discomfort. And yeah, although it's common, it's not normal.
Sure.
So how can we help support the female's body?
And have that whole person approach, which is obviously what Into the Woods is all about if you've been listening the last handful of episodes. Okay, before we dive into some of the symptoms and what's going on, I do want to have a little bit of fun again, fun with what we're talking about, right? We're gonna put a spin on it. So this or that perimenopause, menopause edition. Bear with me here, because not the best thing to have to choose from, but we'll come around and obviously speak to how we can help people through these symptoms in various ways. So would you rather have a hot flash at work in a meeting or night sweats while you sleep?
I'm going to go with hot flash. I want a good night's sleep, so I don't want to be interrupted.
I'm going to go with neither, and I hope that never happens to me, that I have to make this choice, ladies.
I'm going to say, I would like to say neither either. I've not experienced that yet, but if I were to choose, I would say a midday hot flash.
I've experienced both of them. And yeah, neither are fun. But I'm going to say probably the night sweat, just because it's embarrassing when you have sweat running down your face and you're talking to somebody.
So then you want to change your sheets, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know if you've seen it, but Drew Barrymore is obviously going through a lot of this. So she will actually be on episode, like taking clothes off as she's interviewing people because she's having a hot flash. So it's very real. And I love how she speaks to it without any shame. It can be embarrassing, but at the same time, this is normal. What the hell is happening here? So anyways, again, I love that you added neither because we don't want to have this. And perhaps there are ways that we can support our bodies.
And I feel like I might be a little naive and to know what this intensity of this hot flash is. I don't feel like I see people or like I've seen Kathy sweating, like looking embarrassed because you're drowning in sweat. So I guess I don't know what that experience is like, or do I want to?
Exactly. All right. Brain fog moment or unexpected mood swing?
Both of them happened to me, so I don't know if that's perimenopause or whatever, but I'd take a little brain fog over a mood swing.
Yeah, I would say for the safety of others, I'd go for the brain fog thing because I've had that irritability and I can get scary.
Same brain fog in here. I don't like getting irritable in front of people.
I'm just excited that KK does have some perimenopausal symptoms. I'm going to go with...
Hey, now.
I'm going to go with
They're
brain
infecting
fog.
me, and then they're hoping for my perimenopausal downfall. And this is why I have gray hairs. And specifically one I named Wilbur. What was your answer, though? Sorry, I interrupted.
A little brain fog.
A little brain fog. Okay.
I can share that I definitely notice when I'm irritable right before my cycle starts. So I can only imagine the mood swings and how that perhaps happens in a different way, more intense. I don't know.
Yeah, and now that we all work together too, then you sync up with one another. Every place I've worked that has happened, but this is the first place that I started to turn gray.
That's just because you're 40.
I'm not thinking so, lady. Oh, I just feel one coming in right now. Right now. Oh, okay. Yeah, see? I told you.
All right. Talk openly about your symptoms, or did you keep it private?
I'll talk openly about it.
I want to say I probably talked pretty openly about it because I've worked with Ginger for 20 years. So I think she probably heard it all.
Yes, talk open about it for sure, because there are so many other people that can relate.
I do think that there is and can be a stigma around it. It's a vulnerable thing. You don't want to talk about your bodies, and some of the stuff that goes on might be considered embarrassing or whatnot. But I think it depends on who you're raised by. So I had a mother that talked about these things. So even when I was little and started to get my period, let's poor women. Hormones are not just a menopause thing. This starts as soon as your cycle starts and you turn into a crazy little girl at that time and don't really know what to do with it. So my mom talked about that with me. She experienced her own menopause symptoms with us. We saw the hot flashes, and that's why I don't want those. I'd rather have a little bit of brain fog, but those are pretty intense. So I think I, again, have always been open. So I'm all about open, honest angle.
And I think a lot of it comes down to having people in your life that are supportive. So not everybody has that, and that can make all of the difference. If you can find those people, definitely recommend that. All right, last one. Hormone support, so BHRT, or lifestyle nutrition support first? Like, what did you try first, perhaps?
Mine's obviously the nutrition, because I have not had the BHRT, but I like to know that it is an option for me with everyone around me. So I do get to listen to those things. And yeah, in our household, I have older siblings. So I feel like we were just talking about, or I was listening to, I was going to say disgusting things, but it's not disgusting. Yeah.
I've done both. Obviously, I've done a lot with nutrition over the years, but BHRT is relatively new. I am certainly happy that I did it. Life changer for sure.
100% diet and lifestyle first.
Yeah, I mean, since coming on to work at Into the Woods Wellness, I've begun to learn a lot more. So the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is something that's new to Into the Woods. So I think that's something we're all starting to look at. But I think it's important. Ginger always talks about starting with that lifestyle piece. So changing your diet, nutrition can have direct impacts on getting your hormones in control.
100% agree, Kelly.
I think we'll dive
there.
Yeah, we'll dive into that a bit further once we get into some more of the questions. But it is really interesting hearing more about your experience, Ginger, that doing the various lifestyle changes, nutrition, movement, how that has really supported your body, and then adding in the BHRT. So we will dive into more. As we get into the perimenopause, menopause experience, why do you think there's still so much silence and stigma around it?
Because we're chicks and it's not as studied as it should be. You know what I mean? We have a lot of emphasis on our culture on younghood, teenage years, what that's supposed to look like. And then once you reach 40, it's, oh, she's done. And so I do think that there's a major cultural piece that plays into the stigma. And there's this silence culture around it. And that somehow women, as they age, lose viability or who they actually are. And so to me, I think that is a major piece of what we are up against.
Again, going back to when you're 12, you're embarrassed when you get your first period. And oh my gosh, people are going to know. And you hide your tampons and you hide the fact that you're menstruating. But it's a way of life. That's how you blossom into a woman and you become this vessel to have babies. It is a magical thing, but somehow it's turned into this shameful thing when you're young. So I think that's where the stigma starts. And how do you shake that? I don't know.
I do think, too, most are put on birth control at such a young age, which throws off the hormones from the start. You know, we're meant to get periods. We're meant to have a monthly cycle. There's other different forms where it shuts that off, and that's not healthy. So there's a lot of hormone dysfunction starting at a very young age. And I think addressing the importance of why we're getting a cycle. And then if that cycle is unbearable, why? Taking a look at that diet, taking a look at that lifestyle.
Remember when we did that conference we did together, Jenny? Or did we do that workshop?
We've done both through the Red Couch Rebels, myself and Erin Zedler. We did a cycles workshop. And then at the Rewilding retreat last February, we had a bit more diving into, perimenopause and all of that. So what were you going to say about that?
Yeah, I think we're constantly filled with shame around it. And we still don't even understand what a full cycle is, that we are connected to nature too. And our cycles are cyclical as all of that goes. That's why I just think it's important. The more we talk about it, the less it can be stigmatized. But that's what I mean about this cultural grip hold on what it means to be a woman, what that looks like. And then as you age, what happens to those pieces.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you're all sharing hits on why there is so much silence and stigma, and it is changing. So I think the more we talk about it, the more education, the more people realize they have options, that they don't have to struggle through it. Because I echo what Kaitlyn shared. I keep saying every decade keeps getting better. And I know this is coming, that hormone shifts and just this natural transition to my body is coming. So why do I have to think it's going to get bad before it gets better again? No, it's going to keep getting good, right?
That's just the way they've planted those seeds, right?
Yeah. We're going to pull those weeds out.
That's right.
Awesome. Before we get too much further, I really want to make sure people understand when we are saying perimenopause and menopause, what is the difference? And I know we talked about it before we started recording, but do you want to just touch on that, Ginger?
Perimenopause is, we start going through that at the age of 30, they say. It's a very long span of shifts in our body.
Yep.
And during that process, you're going to possibly experience missed cycles, maybe skin changes, libido changes, energy shifts, mood swings, all different types of things. Postmenopausal is generally when you're 1 year without a cycle, you're over the hump, maybe more evenly rewired, where you're not having all of those mood swings.
Yeah, absolutely. So just looking at some of the data out there, because again, every woman's experience is different. They say the average age of perimenopause onset is mid-40s, but it can start as early as late 30s. And I'm sure, obviously, our bodies are changing even earlier than that before we really realize it. And the transition can last from 4 to 10 plus years. So what has been your general experience with that?
I am one of those kids that was put on birth control at a young age. So not young, but 15. Looking back now, it's young. But I was on that pill, with the exception of my pregnancies. I was on that pill my whole life. So I think I was maybe 45 when I stopped with the pill and got my first IUD.
45?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's a lot of birth control.
That is
a lot of messing with my hormones. But thankfully I was on this cycle. I always knew when I was going to get it. Everything was regular to me. Everything felt regular. But having been on that for so long, I was like, ugh, I don't want that anymore. Plus I heard on the IUD you didn't get your period anymore. So I was like, ooh, let me try this one. So I did that for about a year. And then I was over that. And I was like, you know what? I've never not had some kind of hormone in my body telling me what was going to happen with my body. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to come off of this and just let things happen naturally. So they're happening naturally now. So the experience now is a little more irregulated. Okay. Yeah, I would say I went back to teenage periods, like having those horrible cramps and the breast tenderness and the flow was outrageous like it was when I was a teen. So I feel like I've reverted a little bit back.
I think that's part of perimenopause too, is that our cycles all of a sudden get a little bit more out of control. Yeah, so I'm really happy that you no longer have any type of hormone messing with your natural production. I will say though too, I did get put on birth control when I was later in my teens. I would say maybe like 18, and was on it for probably 5-7 years, somewhere in there, and then wanted to have kids and thought, well, I'll just get off this pill and within 3 months we'll just have our first baby. It didn't work out like that. It took years for my hormones to kind of balance out, my body to figure out what it needed to do naturally just to have our first child. It was a huge stress. And so when I see these young kids on birth control for acne or for uncomfortable periods, it's like, what isn't your body doing right? How can we fix that naturally?
I got off of it in my early 20s, so I was probably on it for 4 or 5 years, but I'll never forget when I got off of it. It took almost a full year to get regular again. So I was getting it like every 15 to 16 days, and it was just awful. And I was like, ugh, I haven't been on it since my early 20s, and no regrets.
I also was on birth control when I was late teens. Probably was on it till just before I had my first child, which I was 30. Yeah. And then on it again till my second child. And then after second child, then I was off birth control. So I had pretty regular periods, I want to say, up until my last few years. When I was late 40s, early 50s, that's when shit hit the fan. It was bad. It was bad. I had, heavy periods. But I managed to make it through that. And then I had a couple years just very irregular. And then I went without it for a whole year. I'm like, this is it. And then it came back.
Oh, man.
It came back.
Don't tell me that.
And so then I think I was probably 53 when I was completely just done. But then you go through a whole other things. The crazy mood swings was over, but joint pain. I had a lot of joint pain, especially my shoulders, knees, and elbows. And then that kind of subsided. And then my whole body was dry everywhere. And painful sex, painful everything. Yeah, miserable.
And I want to say you even had like bouts of, I don't want to use that word like depression, but
yes. Oh, yeah.
Bouts of that.
Anxiety, depression, for sure. Went through all that. So I would say postmenopausal was a lot of, not mood swings, but more depression, anxiety, and painful sex. Yeah. And then I got the BHRT pellets put in, and like I said before, life-changing in the dryness area. So that's my experience. That's where I'm at right now. And I'm getting them reinserted today.
She's got her follow-up today.
I have so many questions. What is one thing that you wish someone would have told you earlier about the perimenopause, menopause experience?
I'm listening, ladies. Don't all jump at once.
I think Kathy might be the only one to answer this. I live a little bit through her. Like, she'll tell me things that have happened with her kids and like growing up. And then I just wait for it. So Kathy, kind of tell us, what are we in for? Because I'm not really experiencing too much.
What was the question again? I'm so sorry.
So you still get brain fog.
Yes,
Menopause?
I do. I gotta
with the
say,
pellets?
that's why I'm having pellets reinserted today. Come on. I never, ever knew that the dryness was such an issue. And it's crazy since I had the pellets inserted and I started talking to some of my clients that are my age openly. And they're like, oh my gosh, totally relate. Like, can't even have intimacy with your husband anymore because it hurts too bad. And that's devastating. Just talking with those women openly, and they've come in and have had BHRT, and yeah, it changes your life.
For sure. I think looking from the outside looking in and working with Kathy as long as I have and supporting her through her bouts of lows, I think, boy, if somebody would have told her that BHRT would have been the ticket to get her out of this, that was huge. There were probably 3 consecutive years that every year she'd go through a little something, and we would hone in on diet. We would look at supplementation. We would do so much to try to get her out of this. And she did the BHRT, and it was great to see her change.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up too. Yes, that is also another big deal. I can sometimes just feel myself spiraling down, and I get in those lows and it's hard to get out. And with BHRT, again, it's just, I never knew that so many people are put on SSRIs or the Lexapros, the Zolofts, all the antidepressants. When you go on BHRT, they want you to wean off of that. And I didn't understand why. And it's because it messes with your thyroid hormones.
It just messes with your hormones
Yeah.
in general.
And I never knew that estrogen played such a huge role in your serotonin levels. Like, why isn't that told to us? Why they just want you to put you on antidepressant that helps boost your serotonin, but why wouldn't you do the root cause? Your serotonin levels are low a lot of times because of your hormones and your estrogen levels. So yeah, that has been, again, a life changer. Yeah.
It's been awesome to see this change. And I'll be honest, I was the first one to be a little bit nervous for Kathy to do this just when she was in her low. But it has turned out to be, I'm so glad that my thoughts were wrong, but it has been great to see her want all of those things, the intimacy, her mood is back, she looks happy.
As we were speaking earlier about some of the cultural, societal things that put shame on this, there's so much around the hot flashes, or I'm doing bunny ears here, the crazy mood swings. And not that those aren't something that people experience, but there are so many additional symptoms that are very common, maybe not normal in the grand scheme of what our bodies can experience through these transitions. But so much of it is connected to those hormone shifts. Brain fog, memory issues, difficulty concentrating, troubles with sleeping. Obviously, we mentioned the night sweats at the beginning, which would add to those troubles. Mood changes, so anxiety, depression, irritability, weight changes. That's a common thing, right? Joint pain and inflammation. Again, that wouldn't be something that I would think would be directly correlated to hormones, but 100%. Changes in your skin, your hair, your nails, fatigue, constant fatigue, low libido, which then changes intimacy, which I can imagine spirals or domino effects to impact your relationship too, right? Heart palpitations, digestive changes. Oh my God.
Gosh, yeah, isn't it great to be a female?
It is. And right.
Wow.
Yeah. But I think, again, there's so much out there, to your point, Kathy, about the various antidepressants that people are put on when they're experiencing depression or anxiety. There's so much to covering up those symptoms or supporting those symptoms versus that holistic approach, which, again, I was going to say we don't necessarily want this to be an advertisement just for BHRT, but it is, because it is an option now with removing the black box label on BHRT and having more conversation about it. I really think knowing that's an option alongside the whole person wellness, the lifestyle changes, is really important.
Plug for us that we are one of 6 locations in Wisconsin that actually can do BHRT. So that's a shameless plug, because to us, the root cause, and we treat a lot of women here. So how could we not look at it? How could we not invest in it and not invest in our employees and our community too? So we know the dialogue is changing, but this was something that I do believe is a complete value of ours. And this is why we're having this conversation, because we are all going through it too. Our clients are going through it. And the more we can talk about it, and even though these things are scary, there are solutions. And when we connect to one another and when we have honest conversations about it, that's when we can actually move the dial.
And I know we're having girl talk and we're saying we serve a lot of females here, but we also serve some men. So they're coming in and even more shamefully feeling the low T is like the worst thing a man wants to hear, because they're pounding on their chest. But really, when they get those pellet insertions, they feel like new humans too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally agree.
It's been great. I, of course, had my husband come in and get his lab work done, see where his hormones were at. Of course, he needed some vitamin D, which vitamin D is a huge essential hormone. And living in Wisconsin, typically we're all pretty low. And then when it comes to testosterone in men, testosterone holds a lot of protection for some of those bigger things like Alzheimer's, dementia. And that is something that's always been in the back of his mind with his grandpa having Alzheimer's. So he got his pellets and he just needed testosterone. He didn't need any estradiol or anything like that. But I cannot tell you the different person that he is. He had good energy before, always doing stuff, tinkering with things, but he is more clear-minded. He feels so good. And of course, the increased libido, which we're working on balance with all of that, which, yeah, we're doing good. But yeah, it's just great. So guys, too, sometimes I feel like they lose that manly feeling. And we can make them feel like they were 20 or 30. It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Okay. I love that you added that in, because I know that was something we wanted to talk about, that this hormone shift is not just women. Men experience it too. Very different experience as far as maybe the drastic nature of symptoms, but it still is low libido, energy. What other things are common for? Is it andropause is what they call it?
There's just all different types of symptoms that come in, and I don't even know. I just know that they don't feel like they should feel, and it's hard for them to even sometimes describe that.
Yeah.
And right, with all of our processed foods, all of the soy and everything, it throws off everybody's hormones. We see it in even little kids and boys and things like that, with different breast tissue coming into play.
Sure.
A lot of that's our food. It messes with it.
Sure. Yeah. It's all connected. We've said it before. We'll say it again. It's all connected. Okay. So obviously, we're going to advocate for tuning into your body, clean foods, moving, all of the things that are part of our wheel of wellness perspective, the mental health, detox, just everything that supports that interconnected, holistic approach. I do think a lot of people come at, or maybe just brush aside, these symptoms because they think, oh, it's just part of getting older. And yes, it's part of aging, but it's the shifts that are happening in our body that, again, are elevated or emphasized because of how we're eating, or how perhaps we're not moving, or those hormone shifts that we can support in different ways. Are there other myths that we want to address with some of this? Anything that's coming to mind? Otherwise, I have a couple that I'll share and get your reactions on.
It's definitely not just because you're 30 or 40 or 50, right? There's definitely inflammation going on. Hormones might be off if we're just talking about hormones here. Yeah, I think a lot of us just think this is part of getting older, and it doesn't have to be like that. So if we can open up everybody's eyes and realize they can kind of sail through this
Sure.
without having those symptoms.
Yeah. And we will be having Jean on, our
Good.
APNP, to dive further into this.
I
She's
think
going to
that'll
be a
be-
wealth of knowledge.
I think that'll be great to let everybody know the difference between the BHRT and the HRT that you see in your conventional medicine or Western medicine,
Sure.
because there is a difference.
Yeah.
And we need everybody to be educated to make the right choice for their body.
And I think that goes to one of the other myths that I've heard, that there's nothing you can do naturally. This is just, not only is it a natural transition in our body, but there's nothing you can do holistically to support. And you just said there is a difference between HRT and BHRT.
Correct.
And so much of that whole person wellness
Absolutely.
is holistic and integrative, and that makes a difference.
That's right. I agree. I'm one of those people that just, I want to know what I'm putting in my body. I want to know what the ingredients are. I don't want anything synthetic. The body is pretty amazing. It can do amazing things. But yes, we do sometimes need that additional support. We just do. So my results with BHRT, I didn't need a ton yet, right? I needed a little bit of testosterone. I maybe gained a little bit of energy, maybe an increased libido. But again, everybody is different on what their body needs, and that's just what I needed. Do I want extra in just to experience some of these things that the girls around the office are? Part of me, yeah. But that's not what my body needs or what it's calling for.
Sure.
Trying to just really listen to my body. At just about 50 feel pretty dang good. So
Yeah.
we'll keep our fingers crossed that continues. And I think with the 20-some years of doing what I'm doing, it does pay off. It
Yeah.
does help.
That's a great testimonial for the long-term
Right.
support that clean eating and attention
Right.
to.
It's just the consistency of
Yeah.
always doing something, paying attention, and yeah, and it's not perfect,
Yeah.
but it's consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. We are starting to get into more of BHRT. Kathy, you've already shared some of your experience with it, but is there anything else you would highlight? Maybe speak to some of your initial wonderings, worries. Were you concerned about trying it?
Was I nervous about it? No, because I think I just wanted to feel better. I was told by Jean that it's all natural, it's good. I'm like, perfect. So
Sign
I
me
didn't
up.
really look into it. Yeah.
So when you went to like your doctor and they wanted to give you estrogen because you've been wanting to feel better with the intercourse piece and just other areas with the hormones, and they said, oh, don't worry, what did they give you?
Ginger, I don't really remember exactly what it was, but I know that I looked into it. He was saying that, oh, it's all natural. It's from yams. And I knew a pharmacist. I had him look into it. And he's like, yeah, that's far from natural.
See, and I think just because they put a yam in there, they can call it
A yam?
It's really good for like the hormones, right? There's even creams that you can get, like the yam cream.
There's
that
so
you
much
rub
I
it on
don't
your
know.
belly, on the inner thighs, for sure. For sure. Jenny's into the yams.
Yeah, that's great.
But I think that's a good point in the sense of natural, or being able to call something natural versus organic. And then also having not even just the knowledge, but being willing to do your own research. And that's where I also think that sometimes we fall short because we just want to trust these systems because we have been trained to trust a system. And on one level, that's okay. But then, yeah, doing your research and what is really in there, I think is really beneficial for you. And that's a part of knowing your body. And that's a part of tapping into it too, which can be pretty hard to do, especially when maybe you're at your wit's end. I feel like a lot of times we get people and they've almost tried everything, right? So they want something, and this is definitely an option for them.
To your point, ask more questions. The more we talk about it, I think the more we can hear from other people about their experiences as well. As noted, Jean will be on here within, I'm hoping, next episode here to dive into more of the nuance and talk from the medical perspective. You all are still very knowledgeable, but you're supporting more from a mentorship, health coach perspective, and you're sharing your own personal experience here today.
For sure. Jean needs to be in here, or even some of the nurses in here, to really explain the difference between BHRT and the compound pharmacy that we use and things like that.
Yeah. So stay tuned on what that bioidentical hormone replacement therapy all entails. Today, we really wanted to showcase that there are things you can do, have some real talk about past and now the shifts that you're seeing with BHRT, alongside the other aspects of Into the Woods, which would be that personalized wellness program to help with that nutrition, that movement, all of those things that support your body across the board. So is there anything else you would highlight in regard to your experience that you think others need to know or consider as they're looking at their own unique experience? Because again, we've said it, I think at the start of the episode, everybody's lived experience of perimenopause, menopause, andropause for men is very different, and what each individual body needs is different. So what would you highlight?
I guess if you're having symptoms that are just different, the weight gain, maybe the skin changes, maybe the energy, maybe insomnia, whatever it might be. And for the guys too, if they're not feeling like themselves, if they're not wanting intercourse a couple times a week, it's typically not normal, right? So come in and get your labs tested. There's no hurt in knowing where your numbers are at. You don't have to do BHRT, but at least you know where you're at, and it doesn't have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We can feel good through this process. And I think that's what my goal is, to continue to feel good and not have all these highs and lows. Yes, I'm going to age. Yes, I'm going to have some changes, but it doesn't have to be unpleasant.
Maybe you'll be able to jump in here, Kaitlyn, but we're talking about females and males and the symptoms they go through with this change. But can we talk about the partners of these people, like dealing with raging bitch syndrome, or we just go off on our husbands on a regular basis, or the lack of sex and intimacy? Like all of this can impact relationships. So can we talk about from a mental health perspective? Like, can we start a support group for people going through this?
Yeah, we absolutely can. And I think that we do that on a very small or individual scale. Speaking to Kathy's point before, she started to talk to women that are coming in that are in her same age range, right? And they're supporting one another and they're talking about it. And it does take a mental toll on you if you're feeling those lower moods, those anxious moods. If your partner is not their best selves and you notice that, and then you're not your best self. So yeah, I'm here for all of it. And I think, again, like we've been saying throughout the podcast, and like we say here, it's all connected. If something is off, it's off. And why not explore it? And to me, it really is. Let's look at your labs. Maybe it does start with you can't concentrate because you're so anxious or you're so overwhelmed. And when I work with people, I like to talk about, let's get to the basics, right? How much water are you drinking? How are you sleeping? We start there. And so I do think it is all connected. And yeah, the mental piece is... I might be biased, the most important piece, but that could be your indicator. Or it could be people call, I can't lose this amount of weight. I've been feeling this way. I'm all over the place. And so I guess focusing on those symptoms and what that looks like, and then we would be able to help you with, if it is hormones, then we can help navigate that conversation. Do you have anything you want to add though, Kathy, maybe about the people that you have connected to? And how potentially, because I know as a clinician, helping someone feels really good. And even when we can relate on certain topics, right? And when I can say, I can understand from a personal experience, and then here's this clinical piece, it evens the playing field, in my opinion, of where we're at and how we can help one another. So I didn't know if there was maybe one that stood out to you, or just how it's felt overall connecting to people about this topic.
Or specifically, Kathy, too, if you can talk about your husband from a supportive and understanding perspective on his end of things, too.
Yeah, I have an amazing husband, so he had been very supportive through the whole thing. But it's really tough when they know that it hurts. So that makes him not want to pursue. And I felt horrible about myself, even though it's not my fault. And he never ever blamed it on me, but it was just that
we're missing that connection piece.
That connection, yeah. And yeah, I have two women in particular that I can think of. I was doing vibration therapy on them, and we just got talking about it. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly what's going on in our relationship. And in the meantime, the one in particular that I'm thinking of did get BHRT pellets put in, and she is so thankful and feels, their relationship has blossomed and she feels so much better. I want to say too, these clients that I'm talking to, they have been through our programs too. So they're also working on healing the gut and the lifestyle piece, because you do have to have that gut brain connection. Because sometimes when you're going through the mood swings and the depression and things like that, the gut plays a big role in it too. So you got to have the gut healed.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I think of one client too that got the BHRT, and I don't want to get into details, but she is doing very well, has great energy, increased libido, and guess what? Now maybe her husband needs to come in, which is cool, right? That she has more sex drive than he does. And that happens, right? Why not help him out too?
I just love hearing about the vitality that is being brought back into these individuals' lives through this support, whether it be nutrition, lifestyle, and now with BHRT. Yeah. I know that's a huge piece of what Into the Woods is all about. So to see it in action and hear about it is really cool.
It is. We have lots of strong connections here with our clients. We build this trust. We can have these conversations, and we get to hear it all.
Awesome.
Through our programs, though, healing the gut, like I talked about a little bit ago, a lot of times hormones and thyroid are secondary issues. So when we go through healing the gut, detoxing, those do balance out on their own at times. But then if they need a little extra help, that's where we dive deeper into BHRT or whatever support they need there. But still comes down to healthy lifestyle and
That's
eating.
Right. It's all a piece of the puzzle. Awesome.
Okay, so if you're listening to this and perhaps you've felt shame or you've struggled or had those ups and downs, and maybe more downs like Kathy, you were sharing, or even if you felt dismissed by your healthcare provider, we really want this conversation to be a reminder or that insight that there are options, there are things that you can do, people you can talk to, whether it's Into the Woods, although knowing that Into the Woods is one of 6 in Wisconsin is pretty dang cool too. We are here and of course would love to hear different experiences along the way. If you want to send us a message, let us know. We can definitely feed it into the conversation with Jean coming up as well.
Yeah, and I just want to add one thing too. So if your primary doctor has told you your labs look normal when it comes to hormones, we look at them differently. A man or a male's hormone level between 200 and 300, they might say, or 400 is a normal range. We want to see that much higher so that they can feel great. So yes, too, if you've been told that your hormone levels are within normal range and you're feeling X, Y, or Z, come check us out. Yes.
Awesome. I feel like we just brushed the surface, but I loved each of your sharing. So thank you for being vulnerable and talking about your sex life off podcast or
talking about my husband.
Yeah. Hi,
Scott.
Yeah, there you go.
Love
But
you.
it is so important. Thank you again for being here, for sharing your experience. I'm sure there will be more episodes that we have you on as we dive into more wellness support. But yeah, we'll pick this up with Jean, and until next time.
Until next time, because it's really only been like 3 months, and this is 3 months of experiences. So
yeah, we'll have a check-in.
Yeah,
maybe
for sure.
6 months to a
Right.
year and just see where everybody's at.
That's right.
More lessons to learn, more
right.
insights, wisdom to share.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Less gray hairs. So
She's going to be coloring it.
yeah. But we'll see how that goes. But awesome.
Can BHRT really help with gray hairs though?
I was saying for them to give me less gray hairs.
Oh.
That's where the in 3 months would go. So I will let you know how that goes too. And wasn't there a game growing up actually called Girl Talk? There was, right? Yeah. And like would it have the phones and stuff? Okay. So I'm going to look into that.
Wasn't it? It had little red stickers that were like pimples. It was like girl talk. I think
I'm
maybe
pretty
that
sure.
that could have been a very awakened board game company, like trying to get this to be something that girls talk about. But really, it poo-pooed and went away.
I have not heard of this. All right, we'll post with the episode here about Girl Talk, the board game. Oh my goodness. All right. Until next time, y'all.
Next time.
Be well, be still, be home. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us. We'd also love to connect with you. Reach out at info@intothewoodsjourney.com or visit our website at www.intothewoodsjourney.com to explore your path to wellness. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for listening.